For dairy farmers, this year has ended well with a rise in the forecast payout and a successful Fonterra share fund float. But what of the rest of the agricultural sector? How have they fared and what are the prospects for next year? I'm joined now by Conor English, Chief Executive of Federated Farmers. Good morning, Conor.
Good morning, Michael.
Now, looking firstly at the dairy sector, when you look at that increased payout that's been announced and the success of that Fonterra shareholder fund issue, where I gather the average farmer now is looking at around $300,000 increase in the value of their shares. Are farmers feeling pretty chipper at the end of this year?
Look, they're feeling, I'm not sure if chipper is the right word, but they're certainly feeling better than what they were a couple of months ago. As you say, the payout increase was very welcome. That's another $400 million into the economy's pocket. And for the average dairy farmer, it means they go from having a bit of a cash loss of around about $19,000 to having a bit of a cash surplus of around $20,000. So that's very welcome, that extra money, because they certainly need it.
But in terms of the debt that a lot of the farmers have got, particularly that have entered the industry in the past decade, say, will that share issue make them feel better and their banks feel better? Because on paper, they're suddenly worth a lot more. Yeah.
Look, it will make them feel better, absolutely. But farming, as you know, is about cash flow, and they need to make sure they've got more cash coming in than they've got going out. And so the payout is probably the more significant in the short term, and the increase in the value of their Fonterra shares is probably the more significant thing in the medium to long term. So they'll certainly be feeling better, absolutely.
Now, the general sector, we tend to focus maybe too much on the dairy sector, but how would you categorise the year for the broad agricultural sector?
Well, look, 2012 started off with a very good growing season, and wherever you drove around the country in sort of January, February, March this year, you saw lots of grass. So farming, as you know, is always a lot better when there's a lot of grass. So we had a fantastic growing season. So everyone started off pretty well. The prices over the first sort of quarter half of the year were actually pretty good in the sheep and beef sector, and wool wasn't too bad, but more latterly, this end of the year, we're looking at things drying up a bit. The prices are back. Wool's back about 50%. Sheep and beef is back about 30%, and the dairy's back about 25%. So there's just an air of caution. We're finishing on an air of caution, but it certainly started off very well, and some farmers would have had their best year in 10 or 20 years.
I guess the dollar, though, has been a bit of a killer. What impacts that had for you?
Yeah, look, the dollar, it's something, unfortunately, we can't control, and it just highlights how interconnected our economies are. Every time Ben Bernanke comes out and makes an announcement about printing money, our dollar goes up a couple of cents. And it doesn't matter what the farmers do or what the processors do, that's just a reality that we have to deal with. So, that is a concern, and it would be far better if that dollar was lower, and in our view, it is overvalued. But it's not us that's making that decision, it's the market.
Unfortunately, the forecasts are for it to quite conceivably rise further. What do you see as the outlook for farming next year?
Well, look, if we get good grass growth, it's always better than if we don't. So we've had some forecasts that there is going to be a bit drier in some parts of the country. So let's hope that that's, for the farmers anyway, that doesn't come to fruition. It's always good for the city folk to get a good suntan, but we need to have that grass growth. That's the first thing. In terms of the commodities, we have been assisted a wee bit by the drought in America, helped keep those prices up a bit. And look, for the farmers in America, we hope that it rains there, but that can have an impact on prices. And if that dollar keeps going up, absolutely it will make a difference. And it would be, farmers are running on a reasonably fine margin now. If the incomes were back a bit, that's going to see a lot of farmers in a cash deficit situation.
Okay. Thanks very much, and thanks for your time this year, and have a great Christmas. That's Conor
You too.
English there from Federated Farmers.